media links. Certainly, if you go on either page of each site, you'll see so much being made available to you. Certainly from our session last week, is just about to be uploaded. I know onto our microsite, it'll be no different with Chiltern brands. You can get slides, links, all sorts of things. And again, once the session is finished, the administrators will wrap up all the information. I will tidy everything up and be able to make certain that it's presented for you to go back over it, and for you to tell your colleagues as well. Tell them what they've missed, but make certain that they don't miss out by being able to go back and link into the branch microsites. And please use it, and please feedback as well what you find beneficial, as well as going through social media. So we will be sharing recordings, okay?
So just to, sorry, Tudor, I went on a bit for you.
No.
Just to let you know what we've got coming up in the Chiltern branch. We had a great session with Zoe last week, Tudor this week. So Dr. Karen McDonald is going to be with us next week talking about fatigue and driving for work, and she's a past president of IOSH, currently head of policy at ROSPA, so a very interesting lady. The session that we do want to draw to your attention, which is at a slightly different time, is with Greg Dearsley, who's the president of the New Zealand Institute of Safety Management, talking about everything that's going on over there in New Zealand. And obviously, because of the time difference, that session is on at 9 o'clock. As you know, within Chiltern, we like to push boundaries, and when we're all doing risk assessments, it's important to look at individuals. So for that reason, we've got Sarah Davies on the 24th of June, who's talking about menopause and how that can affect IOSH and how it can affect our risk assessments. Peter Bennett from PASMA on the 1st of July, and we'll be tying that in with a men's mental health session on the 15th of July. And we have got sessions that we're working on at the moment, so we'll be adding to those as they come online. We will be dropping to fortnightly in July and monitoring the numbers. So again, as Tudor has said, do feedback to us in respect of if you like the frequency or you feel we should change anything.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Ours isn't quite as populated as the Chiltern branch, but we are getting there. Certainly, we had a really good meeting last week. 3rd of June, as you see, is what we're doing today. Our meetings are currently being planned monthly. Draw your attention to the one on the 25th of June. The ergonomics one, Kirsty presented to yourself, I think, Louise, did we about 3 weeks ago? And I found her really impressive and excellent presenter, and presented an important subject. I've certainly never held my mobile phone the same way since I saw what she showed me that day.
And it makes you shuffle in your chair as you listen.
Yeah. So we're adding that to one of our local members of our branch doing a presentation on mental health and well-being, and in particular on that with the focuses as we come out of the crisis, but people still have to balance going back to work and all the challenges still of childcare issues, not going back fully, whether it's to school, education, work, etc. The challenges there. So that's going to be quite an important session at the end of this month. Again, something is to be confirmed, but if you just follow us on our LinkedIn page and the microsite, we will not only be giving more detail about each of the subjects, but certainly adding in events for August and maybe some additional events as well as we see fit and the interest grows. We had over 65 attending our session last week, so we were really pleased with that. We know the interest is there, so we'll add more to this program as and when.
Yeah, and we're hoping we're going to bust the numbers today, so that'll be good.
Good,
so,
good.
Just to sort of tie it into last time, as Tudor has said, all of these sessions are being recorded, so it's just the speaker that's being recorded in the chat box. So if you missed any of our sessions, you can go back to it. Zoe Davis gave us a brilliant session last week, all about thinking about how we use our language to influence our behaviour, and I think everybody loved this image. So if you missed her session, I really recommend it. We had some really good participation as well, so that should, if it's not on the Chiltern microsite yet, just keep an eye out for it, and that will be uploaded. And her slides are on LinkedIn, so again, that will be uploaded in due course.
Okay, and just following on from that, looking at our last event last week, we had a really great attendance, and one of the key speakers was Lee Wallace from Vector Air and Water, a local business in South Wales, a gentleman that's presented on more than one occasion to our branch, and has always gone down very, very well with his level of knowledge, and his very relaxed but informative approach. On the screen, you'll just see one slide covering from his presentation, which will all be on the website. I think what was interesting about this is that Legionella isn't just one issue of reopening premises, but certainly how we expanded that into so many other things that we need to be considering. People found very, very informative. A little bit scary at times as well, for if you haven't given it a lot of thought. And again, I think what was also interesting, if I could just add in, that someone who was particularly watching the presentation realized how important it was to share and engage one of our members, and added additional resources to this, and then we're putting that on the website as well. So one good turn deserves another, and we were able to add value to that presentation by adding more to it. So a really good event last week for us at this branch.
And actually, I was at that meeting too.
Indeed,
and I
you
think
were.
the thing that struck me was that, you know, as we bring our buildings back online, will we be having a spike in Legionella cases? We don't know. Yeah,
well, certainly the graph there is everything that indicated from either all his knowledge and all his experience thinks that they will, without any shadow of a doubt, be a spike in cases as a result of this case. And we should be taking action now to put those controls and measures in place as early as we can and as thoroughly as we can.
Indeed. So just a little bit about our news and what's going on in IOSH. And again, it just changes so fast, doesn't it? Everybody should get, on a Monday afternoon, get a Connect email which links you into everything that's changing. The COVID-19 weekly webinar sessions by IOSH are massively popular, and they're, you know, that we're getting, I think we've had 3,500 on one of those webinars, and the one tomorrow, I've put the 4th of May, it's the 4th of June. So the one tomorrow is on mental health, wellbeing and return to work. If you're not quite sure where the link is, go into the IOSH LinkedIn page and you'll find the link for that. So you'll need to register for that. If you are interested in any of the branch sessions, or any of the group sessions, the website link for that is on the news page, and I'll be uploading these slides straight after these sessions. So if you're not quite sure where those are, IOSH are continuing to create new guidance around COVID-19, and this week they've actually added some schools guidance. So as the schools are going back, there's some information on there. The survey, the IOSH survey, which we reminded everybody about last week, has now closed, but thank you to everybody who entered that. So we've had an enormous response to that. So 25% of members actually responded to that, which is you know, way above what you would expect to get in a normal survey. So that is excellent, and thank you to everybody who's contributed to that, because your views matter. Andrew, who has been to the branch, and I've had him recording various bits and pieces. We couldn't fit in his recording today, but he has just completed a recording, and there's a link to that, just an update from him. So because we've got so much to fit in today, I couldn't play that today, but we'll maybe play it next week. And finally, council. So I can't see everybody in the view that I've got, but Natasha, I know that I saw you earlier on, and I'm gonna jump on you now. Council elections are currently open. So council is the body within IOSH which represents all members, and there's a link to council on this news page, and we're really urging people, it doesn't matter what stage of your career you're at, it doesn't matter what grade you are, but every member is eligible to apply to become a candidate for council. And so once we have all of those candidates, people are voted in, and 12 people are voted in each year. So council consists of 36 people, and that's the representative body for IOSH. So Natasha, are you there? You on mute?
I am here, yes.
I'm picking on you again because I can't see everybody, so I don't know which councillors we've got on the line today. But seeing as you're here and you are a councillor, I just wondered if you could say something about council.
So I'm in my first year. I was elected last year, completely unexpected. I didn't really think I had a chance because I haven't really been that active in branches up until that point. But I did, and I came along. The council is made up of some really fantastic and knowledgeable people. So for me, it's more about learning from them and finding out more about how IOSH works, but also having a chance to represent members and try and not necessarily influence, but be part of how the strategies that IOSH develop are actually formulated. So it was more about getting involved and giving something back to my profession, really.
And which grade are you, Natasha?
I'm currently grad. I have just finished IPD, so I'm waiting for a PRI. But I'm grad at the moment, so yeah. But I think there's even tech members on council. So
there is, and there's affiliates, because it should be representative of the whole of IOSH. So, but you've been a really active member. So
I've tried. It's been difficult at times, but I've tried.
But yeah, no. So thank you, thanks, Natasha. Sorry, you knew I was going to pick on you.
I know, yeah.
But no, thanks. So thank you to Natasha. Do click on that link and do have a look. And if you're really passionate about health and safety, then we need to hear from you. We need to know. This is you have an opportunity to potentially make a huge difference. So yeah. So right, this is going to be an interesting one for me now. I've just lost my screen. Oh. There we go. So just bear with me, because I don't know if we've got anybody who wants to raise a question while I'm just rescuing my screen again.
I'm just going to throw into what Natasha said. We had Kieran last week that came in on our meeting and told about council, and he's already got interest from our branch of someone, and I was good to put him in touch with that person, in touch with Kieran to explain more about council. And I think it's important that what Natasha just said and what you just said, that people, it's not a barrier, but sometimes people need the explanation and the understanding of what what council is, and that it's a good representation of all the membership, encouraging people to come forward and take part and shape what we're doing. And one of our members stood up last week, saw it and said, I want a bit of that, and talked to Kieran this morning, and he's on his way.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that worked quite well.
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in council, then do come through to myself, and we can direct you, and just have a look at the links.
Yeah.
So brilliant, and we're spot on time, Tudor.
Marvelous. Are you ready? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready. I don't know what I clicked there, but there's always something.
Okay.
So the way that we're going to run this session now is I'm going to do just a really quick update on the competency framework, and it is going to be very brief. And then I'm going to hand over to Tudor, and Tudor is going to do his pieces as well. In respect of questions, if you have, by all means, please just use the chat, because we want you to be involved. So if you have questions that you want to raise, do use the chat, and then Tudor will pose those questions to me, or he'll ask you to unmute so that you can raise them, and then we're going to swap over.
Okay,
we've got this down to a pat, Tudor. So
ready when you go to.
Okay, so here we go. So hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just going to talk. Has that changed? Yes. Yes, good. Okay, so the competency framework. So this is kind of, there's a lot going on with IOSH at the moment, and there's lots of things that are moving and changing, and not just because of COVID-19. So IOSH's vision, if you know, everybody here I'm sure is aware, is a safe and healthy world of work. And through various different focus groups, IOSH has come up with these 6 main key priorities and these 6 key pillars. And a lot of what we're doing, and a lot of the work that we're presenting, is around these 6 key pillars. And of course we have our strategy as well. So this is really at the heart of Work 2022 and everything that we do. But we know that the workplace that we're finding ourselves in, and when these slides were created, you know, we didn't anticipate what was going to happen. But the world of work has changed massively. So the way that we work is different. And the way that we work is, you know, we're going through a technological revolution at the moment. When we come through the other side of this crisis, things are not going to be the same. And what organisations and businesses need from us as IOSH professionals is also equally going to change. So we've got to meet those demands that are upon us. And a lot of the work that has been done in IOSH has been really pulling together focus groups to say, you know, what is it that you need from an IOSH professional? Now, a couple of weeks ago, within the Chiltern branch, we actually ran a session that was, you know, where do we think the profession's going? What do we think an IOSH professional will look like in 10 years' time? And it's really very much tied into this. So, you know, we've got those traditional fields that, you know, and it might alter and adapt and transform, but they're not really, they're always going to be there. And we've certainly got those traditional fields in terms of our roles. But what we need from us, what organisations need from us, is really expanding. So, you know, I've been, well, I came up, I was an environmental health officer when I first started working. But certainly I've seen my roles and responsibilities change, and depending on what you do, you know, your skills will change, and you know, Tudor's going to talk all about that personal journey later on. But we know that there's kind of those evolving fields of responsibility, and certainly with the crisis, we're being, you know, the psychosocial risks that we can face, and that, you know, we're kind of being expected to manage as IOSH professionals. These are all emerging fields where you know, sustainability, safeguarding, human capital, these are new areas of responsibility, and we need to respond and be modern fit for that, I guess. So through the work that IOSH has done, you know, and there always has been a competency framework of some kind, but it's very much expanded. So it's divided into these 3 different areas, because we're no longer, you know, we're not just, and I don't think any of us want to be recognised for those, you know, for the difference that we make in organisations, not just for being the inspectors. So there's the expansion has really been divided into these 3 core elements. So we've got the technical pieces, which are probably the more traditional areas of health and safety, but organisations expect more from us. So they want to know that we can be part of the businesses that we're working alongside. So there's far more focus now on the behavioural aspects of what we do and the core aspects of leadership, management, strategy, planning, and so forth. And I know, Tudor, you're going to kind of touch on this a little bit as well, because we're going to expand into those.
Yeah.
Now, you know, certainly from my perspective, you know, from the work that I do, it's a lot of what we do now is not, you know, our technical skills are important, but it's how we deliver what we deliver. Think back to Zoe's talk, if you were with us last week, it's all about language. And for me, soft skills are not soft. You know, I like referring to them as power skills. So there's a much greater emphasis on that. So if you haven't, the competency framework, by the way, is free to download, and it breaks up all of these different aspects. So it looks like that. It's, you know, and you can go into it. I'm not going to expect you to read that, but each core piece is described in some detail, and I've got it on my desk too. So it's there. So there's going to be a few things that come out of this. If any of you, and actually, Tudor, you'll be amazed by this. The last time I talked about blueprint, I actually asked for a raise of hands of who was familiar with the first blueprint, and very few people in the Chiltern branch meeting at that time were familiar with it. But there is going to be a blueprint too, and so what that is it's a sort of computer system, if you like, and you literally go through and you answer a series of questions, and it helps to generate. It helps you to identify where your, you know, strengths and your challenges are, if you like. So that blueprint too is going to be really fundamental to it. But Tudor is going to outline some other things that are actually either being planned or are in place that are going to help you to meet that professional, to go on that professional journey with those competencies really at the fore. So I love this slide because this kind of sums everything up really. You know, I mean, talk about changing world. These slides are actually pre-COVID. So, you know, to put that in the top left-hand corner is massively important. Organisations want our skills. They want our skills right now more than anything. And we need to show that we're adaptable, that we're agile, that we're forward-thinking, we're planners, we're comfortable walking alongside business. You know, and we need that program that goes alongside it. So a lot of the things that you're seeing going on in IOSH at the moment are all around how can we support members to be the IOSH professional that businesses and organisations want, and so you can be the best that you can be in terms of what you do as well. So that's just a very, very brief overview in terms of the competency framework, but do go online and download that, and each piece and each competency is described in a lot of detail. So yeah, and this really will help you to sort of understand, as Tudor's going through his pieces, where each part of that fits in. So I don't know if there's any, we've probably got time for a couple of questions.
It's so comprehensive, Louise, so comprehensive and so effective. There've been no questions. So
that's
at the moment,
amazing.
that I can see on the chat.
Normally this quiet.
So I can't see anything coming up, but on questions, if someone's offered a link to some further information, okay, we'll
fantastic.
certainly look through that, and you know, good to enhance what we're doing, isn't it, with a little bit more information. But is there anything you wish to add, Louise?
No, I don't think so. I think because I know that there'll be questions after you've done your session. So Tudor, I'm going to put myself on mute and I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to get my my screen up just a second.
And so if anybody's got questions, just put them on the chat and we'll bring them up. later.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you're there.
Right, I need to realize that I've just got the wrong slide. Just a moment, and just bear with me. That's better, isn't it? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's my turn, and that's me, Tudor, chartered member of, chartered fellow of IOSH. I'm chairman of the South Wales branch. I'm a committee member for the IOSH Education Group, and I'm owner and director of DDD Training Limited. And there's a little bit about my background and experience. I think that some of the key things in there I just want to draw your attention to is the large part of what I do in my day job is deliver NVQs in occupational health and safety practice. Started off at individual units. When units became qualifications, we moved into those. When qualifications became higher levels, and we just kept going. So we currently deliver level 3 and level 6 NVQs. And I think obviously that's helped me take candidates and customers through to higher levels of competency. But it's what got me involved in the branch. I went along to a presentation, I saw someone doing something, I offered a little bit of information and guidance. I got hooked on the need to help and support in the branch to take people through. And over the last 12 months since I've been chairman, I'd like to think that we've been very, very successful in forming the right framework on which people can come along and say, I need some support, I need some help. I need to go forward. How do I do it? And you know, we've taken a lot of people forward in that respect. So I'm really, and I've become a lot more knowledgeable about all the other routes, not just vocational qualifications. And obviously, I can hopefully impart some of that today. And interesting enough, I've only been a fellow a month. Just I had my interview about 5 weeks ago, so I've been a fellow just about a month. And one of the key questions is about being able to give back. And I think that's part of your application. And yeah, certainly I felt I was able to demonstrate that going for it. But certainly I was asked, what will you do different if you are a fellow? And I thought, well, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, even if I'm not a fellow. At the end of the day, I do feel there's a responsibility to keep people moving forward. And it takes me nicely on to my next slide, because I'm an IOSH mentor. But at the end of the day, I believe every member has an opportunity to look at those within the same grade as them or below and evaluate that member's experience and any development requirements. I certainly encourage you not to step outside your comfort zone, check your facts and check the information. But here's just some simple things I'd ask you to consider. Do you know how much it costs to move between certain grades? Do you know how long it takes, what the fees are? Do you know what the time taken and the time needed is at each particular grade? Can you impart back to people experience about your qualification, your route? Can you tell them about the provider you had your experience with, good or bad, and how you maintain your CPD record? These things are personal to you, and these things are kind of, but the more we can go along to branch meetings and engage with people, and as I said there, imparted knowledge and experiences, ideas and support can help you and them along the way. Try it. We've all got something that we can give back to our members. So let's have a little look at where we start. In terms of, I think I've skipped a slide there, just bear with me. Yes, we're going to launch poll 1. Sorry, Mr. Poll 1. Let's find out of everyone here who we've got. So just pick one of those that applies to you and let us know. So is that everyone voted?
The polling seemed to halt then. We had 27 voted. Do you want it relaunched?
Okay, so what I'm looking at on my screen is that we got 2 people who are affiliate, no associates, 6 people who are technical, 7 who are graduate, 11 people are chartered, 1 is fellow, and a few people that haven't voted. So don't worry if you do. If you want to share your experiences and anything on screen as we're going along and let us know, then please do. Okay. Sorry, my just bear with me a minute, my screen's frozen. Okay. When you join IOSH, anyone applying to join IOSH as a member joins as an affiliate or a student member. So affiliate if you're a non-student, or if you are a student member, irrespective of your qualification and or experience. Some people do find it a bit hard to get their head around this. I've already got a degree, I'm going to join IOSH. Why should I join as an affiliate? I want to become graduate or chartered. I think that'll become clear as we go through, but everyone joins as affiliate. Moving to a higher grade, which is known as category transfer, is on application to IOSH membership and satisfaction of key details, production of appropriate information, such as obviously your certification and CPD. And actually, its certification is a key thing. The number of people I know that have applied to join at higher grade and submitted their certificates, but not submitted the right certificates or all parts of the certificates, and it just gets rejected. It just gets held back in the system. So planning and getting everything in place before your application is important. Another job for mentors and another job for branch membership and development officers is to make certain people understand some of these key points. Moving on to grade or two. Now, what do I mean by grade or two? Well, look, you can only attain chartered membership if you have completed IOSH's IPD process. That isn't category transfer. Moving from affiliate to graduate grade, for instance, you can do that without going through the technical grade. In other words, if you did have, and there are some examples coming up, I will tell you there's some examples that we're going to be going through. I will say to you that you'll see this. People have a qualification, they apply to join IOSH, they made affiliate. That qualification is eligible for graduate grade. So they go straight to graduate, having satisfied that. And again, I'll talk you through it. Between affiliate and graduate is the technical grade. It's not a requirement to move via this grade to get to a higher grade, but this does happen. People move from affiliate to technical because their qualification allows them, and they stay at technical grade until such time as they can then move on one more. You cannot move from technical grade direct to chartered bypassing graduate level, as I've said, because of the IPD professional development process. Student members may move to graduate level once they're competent and they're qualified, but also they could also progress to technical grade. It depends which qualification they're following as a student member. So the next 3 slides, we're going to look at the requirements of each grade and a summary overview with some underpinning requirements. So what do you need to attain each grade? Let's look at a bit of a summary. I'll be fleshing out a bit more of this information as we go on. So affiliate, don't need to prove anything when joining this grade, just pay your fee. Once you're a member, evaluation of your qualifications and your experience determines your attainment of a different or higher grade up to and including graduate membership. If you're a student, you need to prove that you're studying for an accredited safety and health qualification or be apprentice on the SHE technician apprenticeship. Now, you can Google any of these off the IOSH website. You can go to them and it'll explain more about each one. We're not going to go into too much detail today on individual qualifications, but it'll be interesting to see in the chat forum as to what questions are coming up on any of the grades that we go through and qualifications. An introductory word about CPD. It is discretionary at the preceding grades, but obligatory at technical and beyond. And I will be saying more about CPD. At the technical level, which is Tech IOSH, you can use those letters after your name once you attain the grade. You must show that you've gained an OHS qualification and typically have 2 years full-time experience or 5 years part-time experience. I have to be honest, I have seen many people who are undertaking qualifications such as NEBOSH General Certificate and NVQ Level 3, the IOSH/NCFE Level 3 qualification. And just because they feel they're undertaking it or even attained it, that allows them technical membership, and that is not the case. IOSH will ask you to demonstrate that you are in a role that allows you to use and benefit from that qualification. So it's not just about the qualification. Let's look at it a little bit further. Graduate grade, grad IOSH. You must have gained an appropriate OHS qualification. And again, I'm going to be outlining some of these shortly. For chartered, the chartered CMIOSH grade, you must have gone through the IOSH IPD. That's the professional development process. There are two routes. You must do one of two routes, or in some cases, both of them. Again, I'll explain why that is, and undertake a peer review interview. We've already heard from Natasha as to where she is on the process at the moment, waiting the peer review interview date. And again, if you want to know a little bit about waiting time and how long that takes, flash a question up as a question. I can give you some up-to-date information on that, actually as of about 2 hours ago from one of my candidates. But Chartered Fellow, I'm sure a lot of people will want to know about that. It was a mystery to me when I started looking at it. You need to be a chartered member for a minimum of 5 years. There is an application process and there is an interview for it. There is also an associate member grade. I noticed on the poll that we did, no one said they were associate grade. I have to say, I come across very few people who are associate grade. It is available to those with a suitable qualification and is seen as a progression from affiliate and student, though not necessarily through this grade or via this grade on your way to a higher one, okay? Okay, let's have a look at the third of this set of slides about some underlying requirements. CPD, continuing professional development, is obligatory at all grades of inclusive of Tech IOSH and above. And as a minimum, IOSH say that your CPD should consist of a development plan and a minimum of 6 activities per year. Now, this is a personal thing, and this is only personal to what I do with the people I work with. Don't just do the minimum, all right? Exceed the minimum, go further than the minimum. Everyone working in health and safety should have no trouble in having a minimum of 6 activities. I ask my candidates to break them down in the development plans into quarters or even 6 months, and no more than that, and 6 activities per period. So they'll end up with a bigger development plan, a more focused development plan, and more activities. But I have to stress the IOSH minimum is 6 activities here and a minimum and a development plan in place for a 12-month period. CPD at affiliate grade is discretional. There are some very good reasons to establish a CPD record at your earliest opportunity, but here's the message about mentoring to branch members. Many people at the early grades will know nothing about CPD and will not understand it. The sooner they can get on the process and start even just developing a development plan, it will help them. Because should they complete their qualification, should they then be in a position to apply for, say, technical grade, IOSH membership will ask them to at least have the development plan. If they've already got it in place, they're a way to go and they're on their route. I see a lot of people get a little bit deflated because they apply for membership, get turned down because IOSH said you also need to have a development plan in place, at least at technical grade. It never used to be the case. You could get technical grade and then put your development plan in place as you started CPD, but now IOSH will ask that. And indeed, if you're applying to move from affiliate to graduate grade, it is extremely likely, not likely, definite that you'd have a development plan in place, but you should also have activities that would support that as well at graduate level. Again, if you've started that as soon as you join as affiliate, then you're much more likely to move through that grade smoothly, but also be in a better place in terms of generally your membership. And to go back to what Louise talked about in her presentation, there is so much happening with competencies at the moment. There is so much for each individual member to review, so much for each individual member to take on board. Your CPD could and should be reflecting all of these things. It isn't just about attending a meeting, undertaking a risk assessment, going to a presentation, sitting on Zoom. What are the things that affect your professional and your personal development? And use your development plan and your CPD to reflect on that and to make certain that it's bang up to date and going forward. You will see the benefits of that in such a positive way when you undertake the IPD process from graduate onwards and move into chartered at your peer interview. Okay, I'll talk a little bit where that going. Okay, so let's give some examples. If you apply for a category transfer, you've joined as an affiliate, you believe you're qualified to be a graduate. Fine, nothing wrong with that. IOSH will request a copy of your certificates and qualification. I'll give you the example from the NVQs. When you get your NVQ certificate, you'll have two, usually, maybe even three. One that shows your qualification, the second or two that will list all the units you've achieved. IOSH will only approve certain NVQs of certain levels that show there are elements within them that meet their requirements. If you do not produce the certificate that shows you've approved those individual elements that support the NVQ, IOSH will only send it back to you. So please make certain when you submit your qualifications as part of your application, you know exactly what it is you have to be submitting and you've got them ready. Also, you need to check that your CPD record is up to date. I'll show you later on that IOSH certainly will check, so you need to do first. And you need to get support on that sometimes to make certain it's current and applicable. IOSH may also request for graduates a copy of a CV or clarification of your role and responsibilities. Don't forget, if you've started an affiliate, as you will do, and you've started recording CPD early enough, it's much easier to have all this in place rather than starting from scratch. Let's look at a second example. You joined as an affiliate, obviously, or a student, and you believe you're qualified to be granted technical status. Again, I shall request a copy of your certificates and qualification to make certain it meets their requirements. Check that you have a development plan in place as part of your CPD and that you are and have been in a suitable and responsible role. If in proceeding to technical grade you're uncertain, you can always speak to IOSH or someone at the branch to say, do you think I have enough experience and the right experience to allow me to be at that particular grade? It just may allow that you might have to sit and wait for a little while to be able to complete your application and then to move through. Just going to have a now look at the second poll. So we're going to launch the second poll is, do you feel you could or should be at a higher membership grade, but you're not certain how to get there? Yes or no? Could we launch that poll?
%74% of people have voted.
Okay, so okay, how many have we got? So we've got 38 people who voted. Of how many have we got online today? How many in the meeting?
We've got 29 voted out of 35 at present. So if I end polling there,
okay,
share the results.
Okay, so obviously not everyone's voted. Okay, that's fine. Again, if you want to add something through the chat function, then please do. But the fact that 11 people, you know, feel that they should be at a higher membership grade, but aren't sure how to get there, then obviously there's some work to be done by all of us to help those people move forward and break down those barriers. But those who said no, don't forget, you know, everyone needs to make certain they fully understand the process, because they may understand it, but when they get to the end part of it, they could find that there's something that they've omitted or something that they haven't understood. Let me just get rid of that off my screen. Okay. Okay, let's have a little look at some qualifications. Now, I just got some notes here. On frequently asked questions from IOSH, they say, as a question, I'm considering working in health and safety. What qualifications do I need? And IOSH say there are two levels of qualification you should consider, level 3 and a degree level. IOSH currently accredit 8 level 3 qualifications and 34 higher level qualifications. And it goes on to explain a little bit more about that. The point of saying that is, This information is taken off the IOSH site here. And EQF, European Qualification Framework, level 4 or level 6, associate, level 4, technical, level 4, attained an IOSH accredited qualification for graduate at level 6. Now, the fact is this can all be very complicated and we can't go into all the fine details now, but let's make it a little bit easier. You know, student level, you could be following anything from a degree program, or you could be following an apprenticeship. You could be poles apart in terms of your age, your experience or whatever, but you could still be classed a student. A technical, and of course there's a difference there at student level, you're a student because you're studying for these qualifications, not attained them. You move up to technical grade when you show that you've attained the right level, the right qualification. Technical, we could be talking about, for instance, NIBOSH general certificates, NCRQ certificate, NVQ level 3 in occupational health and safety, NCFE stroke IOSH level 3 qualification. Okay, so, and there are others. British Safety Council, I believe, have a qualification out there. If it's not one of the mainstream ones and you're not sure, you should go on IOSH's list, and there's the link there, and check. And again, if you're not certain, get some help at your branch and get some help from IOSH. If you graduate, you could be doing an NVQ level 5 or level 6. Actually, IOSH do add level on their website. They do make reference to NVQ level 4. I do appreciate some people might have NVQ level 4s, but IOSH are discontinuing their acceptance of certain NVQs at the moment. So you do need to make certain that your qualification number still meets IOSH's requirement. And also, level 6 now is a more recent development in NVQs, and that's very relevant to where IOSH are going to be probably once the grades review is completed next year. But obviously a NIBOSH diploma, an NCRQ diploma, both are already at level 6, or a degree program will qualify you for graduate, providing you submit, you commit to everything else, satisfy everything else. Again, if you're not certain, make certain you get the help from your branch or directly from IOSH membership. Now then, if you want to move from grad to IOSH, let's look at from grad IOSH to CMIOSH, whereas where a lot of people are and want to be. Let's look at an example. Your graduate status has been confirmed by IOSH based on qualification, CPD, and experience, and then they will invite you to join the IPD process and move towards, not transfer, to chartered status. Depending on the qualification you've attained at graduate level, those with vocational qualifications, NVQs at level 5 or 6, will follow a route that commences with open assessment, which I'll overview in a moment, and concludes with a peer interview. Those with a degree or a diploma, such as NIBOSH or NCRQ at level 6, will follow a route commencing with a skills portfolio and then a peer interview. There is a third option, and that is if you have a cognate qualification, you will have to do both open assessment and a portfolio before peer interview. And by cognate, simply what they mean is a degree that's not a mainstream degree in a safety discipline, but something that may have an element of health and safety in it, units, and you have to apply to IOSH to see whether they will accept that. If they do accept it, they will make you go through the skills portfolio and the peer interview. So skills portfolio and the open assessment before you do the peer interview. So the next 3 slides are going to cover the IPD process in a little bit more detail. Okay, so you've paid your IPD fee, which is £160. It's not covered by your membership, and this fee lasts for 2 years. You should review all the documentation and everything that is available under the professional development section of the IOSH website when you're applicable to the process. And when you're ready, you book on that process via IOSH. Now, when you want to do the open assessment process, there are basically 9 opportunities per year, 1 per month. They tend to avoid 2 summer months and 1 winter month at present. It is an open book assessment. The initial part of it is a 48 multi-choice or multi-format questions in 3 hours. You do not get any longer before you're timed out. Your result, whether it's pass or fail on Part A, is instant. If you pass Part A, and only if you pass Part A, it gives you access to the Part B questions. You get 7 days and no longer than 7 days to complete Part B, and that time starts immediately you know you've passed Part A, not when you start Part B. And that's a very, very key point. Don't leave Part B and think once I click on the questions, I'll come back to it. Your clock is ticking. And when you do Part B, there are 2 questions, no choice, and you do 700 words each maximum. And you get your overall result of it within 21 days. One thing I've missed off this is the overall process from the time it starts on the first day is no longer than 14 days. But within that 14-day period, each month, you'll get no longer than 3 hours for Part A and no longer than 7 days for Part B. If ever there's a role for peers in their branch to discuss and talk about a process, it's really these slides here. So I hope there'll be some questions. I'll be happy to expand further. A little look at the portfolio route. There are 5 elements with 27 criteria in all. And again, on the appropriate pages on the IOSH website, you can view all these. You select 7 of them. You must submit electronically to IOSH for assessment your assignment against each of those elements. Each assessment takes about 3 weeks per assignment. You don't have to wait for the result of one before you move on to the next one. There's a detailed guide on the IOSH website for just this part of it alone, which is 66 pages long. I'm not saying that because it's a criticism. I'm saying that it's there as an observation that if you don't know that and not familiar with it, it's not exactly light reading, but it is fundamental to how you get through this process to make certain that you can do so, and you can do so effectively and smoothly. The IOSH website includes all the appropriate documents, templates, etc. for this process. A question I'm commonly asked, isn't it like an NVQ? I have to say, yes, there are similarities. And I think Louise's points about the competency framework are very, very pertinent here. There is a great opportunity for alignment here in people's understanding of the competency framework and some of the competencies required to get through this part of the process. And it's worthwhile you looking at that along with Blueprint and along with everything else that's there to help you to see how they all align to make us better and more rounded safety professionals. And the last part of the peer assessment is the IPD. You pay your fee. So your interview, your peer review interview, I put peer assessment is PRI, peer review interview. You pay your fee, which I think is £80. I think it's about that, but anyway, you get available dates for IOSH and locations depending on COVID-19. At the moment, everything is being done by Zoom. One of my candidates had a call yesterday or this morning actually, and has got his interview in July the 7th. So he's got about 5 weeks to prepare for this Zoom interview. Interview lasts an hour, usually by 3 peers, all see IOSH. The interview requires you to present an overview of your career for 10 minutes. IOSH will give you a template for that. Questions from peers cover a range of topics, some technical, some relating to your career, others relating to the requirements of a chartered member, the code of conduct, etc. Your outcome can be for the next day up to 14 days. A lot of people scratch their head and say, sometimes you've got to wait 14 days. Dylan will probably nod when I tell him, I think you had your result almost in the car coming home, driving back from Leicester, Dylan? I
actually had it the following morning.
The following morning, so really within 24 hours of his. And if you're unsuccessful, I believe you currently have to wait 12 months to repeat the process. Let's have a little look at poll 3. I'd like to know if anyone feels that they're currently stuck in the IPD process. For those who are graduate, moving towards chartered, do you feel you're stuck in the process at all? Okay, we're just looking at that. It's telling me 6 people are. So 6 people.
We are 19 out of 31 available to vote. So if I end that now and then share the results.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. So we've got 6 people that are stuck somewhere in the IPD process. Whether that's a job for me today or anyone going forward, we need to help those 6 people. 13 people don't believe they're stuck in the IPD process. I, of course, believe them, but I do believe as well that somewhere along the line, everyone hits a bit of a speed bump that they need some help over. All right, even if they understand it, sometimes when they reach a particular part in it, they need a little bit of hand holding to get them through it smoothly. Okay, just get rid of that. Okay. So let me just make sure I'm on the right. So moving towards the end now, CMIOSH to CFIOSH, Chartered Fellow. I've taken some quotes here. The application says it's the pinnacle of the profession. Demonstrate outstanding dedication to the profession above and beyond role models for other members. And these are explained quite clearly within the process for you to see yourself in that. You must be chartered for 5 years. The process is by way of a structured application, which is all presented to you. Again, a fee applies, £50. There's a review of your portfolio and application before selection for interview. So mine took a month to be reviewed, and then the interview lasts an hour once you're offered it, and a presentation during that is optional. And again, happy to offer more questions for those who are already chartered, more information on that particular process. Sorry, my slide, my screen is freezing a little bit. Bear with me. Okay, quick word about CPD and your part in the journey. Some of these are reminders. You must record your CPD from Tech IOSH onwards, but I encourage you to do it earlier. CPD can be audited by IOSH at any time, and your CPD will be audited if you apply for any category transfer, affiliate to technical. Do you have a development plan at least, or when you apply for grad IOSH? Also, when you have completed your open assessment or your portfolio and before proceeding to peer interview. And also when you submit an application for fellow. So I say, and the term good standing is often applied in this process. So people need to make certain that their CPD is right and as early on in the process as possible. Now, I'm just going to start to close the presentation down now with a few additional things that we've been asked to cover today. A little bit of word about the IOSH Career Hub. This is very important for those, particularly at student membership, but not just students, but a lot of people there have found this beneficial. The Career Hub is a benefit to members, which offers interactive tools and resources and helps you get ahead of the competition as a safety professional and help you with your next job and boosting your development. Great opportunity to acquire new knowledge and business skills, which can contribute to your CPD. What are the benefits? Well, again, there's a wealth of interactive tools and resources you can get access to, something at every stage of your development to help you in the process. It covers CV development, cover letter builder, help your message across succinctly. Examples of all types of aptitude tests you can practice and take at the stage, at any stage of the process, and an interview simulator to help you build your confidence and confidence. Interactive mock interview to rehearse and perfect your answers, an assessment center to familiarize and prepare you for this final stage. There's also an enormous range of e-learning content and business skills resources to help you boost your professional standing. IOSH Future Leader Program. IOSH Mentoring is very key to this. Certainly in the branch, we're looking to appoint someone co-opted onto our committee in South Wales to help us with the IOSH Student Membership Program and the IOSH Future Leader Program. I'm not going to dodge this. I know Louise is far more versed in this. If there are any particular questions on the IOSH Future Leaders Program, then obviously, Louise, you can sort of help me out with that. It's not that I don't understand it, but obviously, I think see what our audience wants today on that. But I think it's really important for all your branches to make certain that this is part of your development of your program. And if I could just say as well, a little bit of IOSH mentoring. I find it quite interesting doing this today because I'm glad to be helping people out. I've been an IOSH mentor now since the start, but I haven't had any candidates to mentor through the program yet. What's interesting, I'm being bombarded on LinkedIn and other things to help people at various stages. And I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to impart my my knowledge and ability. And I happily work with one of Louise's candidates recently as well. The mentoring program is up and running. You should tap into it. You should use it, but you should also liaise with the right people in your branch to make certain that you get the right information about the right things and the right level of support. In conclusion, I'm sorry if I've overshot my time a little bit. The big crook hasn't pulled me off the screen, but there's some numbers, there's some links. Consider the benefit of being a mentor. If you think you know all this and you're happy and or it's inspired you to give more back, then become a mentor. But mentor anyway, even if it's not part of the official scheme. Look at I said of what you can do to support people. Everyone needs some help, and sometimes that includes just making sense of the information you're given, putting it into perspectives, timeframes, and so much more. I've learned so much more from mentoring people simply by listening to the questions they ask me and thinking, wow, I thought they knew that. And just generally, they don't. They don't know it. And although you can link them to the website, please do push them to the IOSH membership website. Sometimes, unless you know how they get on with it, you just need to follow that through. It needs to be a holistic process. So I'm going to end there. I haven't looked at the chat to see what questions are coming up. Probably one is, how much longer is this guy going to go on? But I'm finishing now, and we're going to look at any questions. Let me just stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, and